Discover the heartwarming truth, Billionaire's incredible transformation after finding his ma's old compass. In a small Midwestern town, the air thick with nostalgia and regret, a self-made billionaire named Bill Henderson stumbled upon a relic that changed everything, his mother's worn compass. It was a family heirloom, covered in faded scratches, and the moment he held it, a wave of forgotten childhood memories crashed over him. That compass had once guided him not just through forests and rivers, but through the very principles his grandfather had etched into his heart: integrity, honesty, community. Bill was now in his late 40s, gazing down from his penthouse office, where glass and steel reflected his million-dollar success but hid the emptiness beneath. He had conquered the corporate jungle, yet it was his humanity that had paid the price. The town that raised him had watched as he became a figure of scorn, a symbol of greed, turning his back on the morals that once shaped him. As whispers of economic hardship wafted through the streets he'd once called home, a spark ignited within him. Could he confront the past? Saying goodbye to his opulent office, he drove back to the town that felt like a stranger. The bespectacled librarian, the ice cream shop owner, even his own relatives, everyone had changed, hardened by years of disappointment. As he stepped onto those familiar streets, Bill's heart raced. He was met with cold stares and hot whispers, each one a reminder of the chasm his success had driven between him and his community. Their resentful glares pricked at him like briars. "Why are you really here, Bill?" they'd say, but he didn't have a clear answer. Offering donations for community projects felt like tossing pennies into a wishing well. Doubts echoed louder than gratitude. "We don't need charity from someone who has forgotten us," they murmured. Each cold shoulder was a dagger. But in the midst of this struggle, a glimmer of hope emerged: a chance meeting with Sarah, a single mother wrestling with daily burdens. Her strength captured his attention. As she shared stories of her dreams for her 2 kids, Bill felt something stir that hadn't in years. It was as if she were holding a mirror to his soul, reflecting the values he had lost. Winter softening into spring, Bill found warmth in their connection. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. At a town hall meeting meant to address the community's turmoil, Bill stood up, heart pounding. "I know I've built walls," he said, voice shaky yet firm. "But I want to help. I want to understand." As his words clashed with skepticism, murmurs rippled through the crowd, revealing layers of hurt, hope, and lingering resentment. He felt a knot tighten in his chest. The chasm between them seemed insurmountable. As he left that room, doubt mingled with inspiration. Questions lingered: could he ever reclaim the belonging he once had? Would this compass ever guide him back? Bill stood on the precipice of change, yearning to prove he could rise above wealth and reconnect with the community that once made him whole. The air was thick with both despair and flickering hope, a recipe for the redemption he craved. Would he finally grasp what it meant to be part of something greater than himself? The story was far from over. Bill walked out of the meeting, feeling like the wind had been knocked out of him. The faces in the crowd haunted him: disappointment, skepticism, and a hardened resolve blended into the gaze of those he once called neighbors. Each step he took felt heavy, yet each step pulled him closer to an awakening he couldn't ignore. The sun began to set, its orange hue casting long shadows on the pavement. Bill found himself drawn to the local park, a place filled with childhood memories. He wanted to remember what it felt like to belong. As he walked down the familiar path, he noticed a group of children playing soccer, laughter echoing the happiness he once knew. Amid all the commercial success he'd accumulated, moments like these had slipped through his fingers. Then, he spotted Sarah across the field, crouched beside her kids as they practiced kicking the ball. Their infectious energy radiated, and Bill felt a warmth spread through him. When their eyes met, Sarah gave a simple smile that sparked something deep within him. Maybe this was what had been missing from his life, a connection to real people facing real struggles, and an opportunity to be a part of their journey. "Hey, Sarah," he called out as he approached her. "Bill," she said, a mixture of surprise and caution in her voice. "How are the kids doing?" He nodded toward the lively activity. "They're getting there," she laughed softly, although her eyes carried a glint of weariness. "Just trying to make sure they have something to smile about." Bill's heart skipped a beat. Her resilience moved him. "You're doing a great job." "Seriously." "Thanks," she replied, the warmth in her voice contrasting the cold reception he faced in town. "It's not easy." "Do you ever take a break?" he asked, genuinely curious. She chuckled lightly, a sound that put him at ease. "Yeah, when the sun sets, and they finally sleep, that's when I get to breathe." He stared at her for a moment, captivated by her strength. "I want to help. Not just donate, but really help. I'm learning there's more to life than just business." Her expression shifted from cautious to skeptical. "And what does that mean for you?" "Because I've heard words like that before, and they rarely lead to action." Bill winced at her honesty, but he admired it too. "I want to put my resources to work where they matter. Let South transform the park, help organize community events, something that brings people together." Sarah's gaze softened slightly but held an edge. "Talk is cheap, Bill. It's what people do that matters. Can you really commit?" "I will," he replied, sincerity lacing his voice. "I need your help to make it happen. I can't do it alone." They stood there, the reality of the task ahead settling between them. Bill could see a flicker of hope in Sarah's eyes, a spark igniting that made him believe in the possibility of redemption. Tasks like turning the park into a safe haven for families and revitalizing the community seemed monumental. Yet, with Sarah at his side, those walls felt a little less sturdy. Before he left, Sarah looked him in the eye. "Just remember, Bill. People won't forgive easily. You'll have to show them you're here for the long haul." He nodded, the weight of her words heavy on his heart. "I understand. I'm ready." As he walked away, determination filled him. Could Bill truly transform not just the park, but his relationship with the entire town? Each step he took was met with both hope and uncertainty. He wasn't sure what awaited him, but he knew he had to try. Would he find the courage to turn those words into action? Or would fear pull him back into solitude? Only time would tell if his compass could truly guide him home again. As Bill made his way down the path, the shadows of the trees stretched across the ground like fingers reaching for something lost. The faint laughter of children mingled with the sweet scent of spring blooms, reminding him of simpler times. Yet, the task ahead loomed like a mountain. He took a deep breath, fully aware of the community that had turned its back on him. Would they accept his attempt at redemption? Could he really rebuild trust? Doubts crept in, but he pushed them back. This was his chance to rise above the past. Later that evening, at home, Bill sat at the dining table, papers scattered around like fallen leaves. He grabbed his laptop and began to draft a plan: fundraising ideas, community events, volunteer opportunities. It felt good to pour his thoughts out, to visualize a place where families would gather, laugh, and thrive. Yet, as he typed, he could hear the whispers of skepticism echoing in his mind. Was he just a rich guy trying to play savior? He shook his head, frustration settling in. He knew the answer was deeper than that. He wasn't just looking to help, he was seeking to connect. The more he wrote, the more certain he became. He needed to create something that truly mattered, not just for his own peace of mind but for the community that had meant everything to him growing up. The following day, he returned to the park, this time with more intent. Bill didn't want to simply talk, he wanted to listen. He approached parents as they watched their kids play, gathering feedback on what they wanted to see. He met with a group of elderly folks sitting on a bench, sharing stories of the park's glory days, how it used to be a hub of activities. "Can we make it like that again?" he asked, eager to hear their thoughts. One older woman smiled warmly. Every big change starts with a small step, dear. But people need to see you're serious. Not just for today, but for all the tomorrows. Those words lingered in his mind. The community was a tapestry of lives interwoven with shared struggles and hopes. It meant more than just revitalizing the park, it meant stitching back the fabric of community spirit. With each conversation, he felt more invigorated. People were slowly beginning to share their thoughts, and even a few of them began to nod approvingly at his ideas. Hope bubbled in his chest. However, when he looked up, he saw Sarah watching him from a distance. Her gaze was uncertain but curious. He felt the push within himself not just to convince her but to show her, through actions, that he genuinely wanted to help. "Hey, Bill," she called out as he neared. "Sarah. I was just talking to some folks about what we could do to bring this place back to life." She raised an eyebrow, evidently skeptical but willing to engage. "And what's your grand plan?" Bill's heart raced as he began to outline his vision: the vibrant festivals, the cleanup days, the parent-teacher gatherings under the old oak tree. Her arms crossed, but there was a hint of intrigue in her eyes that encouraged him. "Look, Bill, it's going to take more than ideas to convince anyone," she said, the challenge lingering in the air. Anger sparked within him, but guided by a sense of purpose, he channeled it into determination. "Then let's get started. I need your help, Sarah. You have a voice they'll trust." "Why me?" she asked. "Because you care. And because together, we could inspire people to believe again." For a moment, silence enveloped them, hanging on the air thick with possibility. But just as a smile began to form on her face, a commotion erupted on the far side of the park. Parents turned wide-eyed at the sight of a few older kids arguing, their voices rising with tension. "Oh," Bill said, his heart dropping. "We might need to take care of that first." As he rushed towards the chaos, Bill knew his journey was far from over, it was just beginning. Could this minor disturbance turn into a lesson in community? Would he rise to the occasion when it truly counted? Each step toward resolution might lead him closer to the redemption he sought. But what wild turns would he have to face along the way? Bill sprinted across the grass, heart racing. As he approached, he could see the kids shouting, faces flushed with anger. The sight brought back memories of his own childhood: pushing, shoving, and knee-jerk reactions that often led to misunderstandings. "Hey! What is going on here?" he called out, voice booming over the noise. The trio of kids didn't even pause. They were too caught up in their own drama, pointing fingers and hurling insults. A little girl watched at the sidelines, tears brimming in her eyes, clearly on the verge of joining in. "Guys," Bill said, moving closer. "You need to take a breath." One of the boys paused, the bravado fading. "He took my ball," he shouted, gesturing dramatically. Bill knelt down to their level. "Okay, let's just think this through. Did you ask him to share it first?" The boy crossed his arms, clearly defiant. Bill could see that anger dissolving into confusion. "Well, no, maybe we could find a way for everyone to play together," suggested the little girl hesitantly. Bill seized the moment. "Exactly. How about we play a game where everyone gets a turn? I'm sure there are plenty of balls around here." The children looked at each other, uncertainty etched on their brows, but something shifted. The tension began to ease. Bill's heart fluttered with the glimmer of hope. This was a small victory, but it meant he was beginning to connect, starting to make a difference. A few minutes later, the kids were racing after the ball, laughter erupting into the air, infectious and bright. Bill straightened up, feeling lighter. He glanced back to see Sarah watching from a distance, arms still crossed, but now her expression had softened. "See, that wasn't so hard, was it?" she said when he approached her again, a hint of admiration in her tone. "You really handled that." He shrugged, feeling the rush of hope. It just took a little patience. But patience isn't something most people give you a chance to practice after what you did. Her words felt like a gentle reminder and a challenge all at once. Bill sighed, the weight of her truth settling in. I know. But I'm not looking for a free pass. I just want to show them I can be part of this community again. I'm ready to listen and learn. She studied him, the flicker of unresolved doubt still behind her eyes. What are you going to do next? This won't be easy. They need more than just talk. I have a plan, he replied, a newfound spark igniting in his chest. After talking with those families, I think a community cleanup day could be a start. Show them I'm invested, physically working alongside them. Sarah unwrapped her arms, and for a moment, Bill thought he saw a glimmer of hope in her expression. And what if they still don't trust you? Then we keep trying, he said, his voice firm. Trust isn't built in a day. It takes commitment, and I'm all in. I just need to find ways to prove it. Before Sarah could respond, the sound of excited laughter erupted again, this time a larger group joining in the game. The children were embracing the idea of teamwork. Bill felt his smile grow and, in that moment, he realized he was starting to see the park transform even if just for a fleeting second. As they walked back together, tension loosening between them, something unexpected happened. A small child approached them gingerly, clutching a colorful drawing. Look! I made this for you. It southed the park with everyone having fun. The kid's bright eyes and the crude drawing made Bill's heart swell. Here was another flicker of hope, proof that even the smallest gestures could change perceptions. Thank you. It's perfect. He said, feeling the warmth of gratitude flooding his chest. But as he turned to Sarah, ready to share how this simple moment filled him with determination, he noticed a group of teenagers watching from the edge of the park. Their expressions told a different story, skepticism mixed with curiosity, plotting. Bill's stomach nodded. Would they undermine his efforts? Would this be yet another obstacle to overcome? Sarah, there's more to this than I thought. What would happen when those kids decided to speak up? Could he face the truth of their judgment? Their presence was a new challenge. As excitement bubbled within him like an untamed fire, he realized the next step was already calling him. Bill felt a bead of sweat trickle down his forehead as he stood at the edge of the park, glancing at the teenagers who were whispering amongst themselves. Their eyes flicked over to him and then away, dismissive and wary. He could almost hear the unspoken questions swirling around. What was he doing here? Did he really belong? His heart thundered in his chest. Sarah, he said, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. Do you think they'll say something? I'm just trying to do good here. She studied the group, her brow furrowed. They're probably just curious. But if they've heard what you did before, they might not see you for who you are now. The realization hit him like a cold wave. He had a mountain to climb. Even the laughter from the little kids and the drawing in his hand couldn't erase their judgment. Bill knotted his fingers around the colorful piece of paper, suddenly feeling the weight of it in his palms. I thought this would be easy. Just start fresh, you know. But maybe they won't ever forgive me. People rarely forget, she said softly, a shadow crossing her face. It's what happens next that counts. You need to show them you're serious about changing. He glanced back at the teenagers. They still loitered, their glances flickering toward him and then away. One of them, a tall girl with long braids, shifted her stance, arms crossed tightly. He could feel her scrutinizing every move he made, and it made him almost rethink everything he had planned. Okay, he finally said, determination infusing his words. I won't let them intimidate me. I'll hold that cleanup day, and I'll invite the whole community. I'll make it a big deal. Sarah finally smiled, a genuine one that broke through her earlier skepticism. Now that's the spirit. And don't be afraid to ask for help. You can't do it alone. Yes. He exclaimed. This isn't just about me. Maybe it's time to get some local businesses involved. Sponsors could help, and if they see something positive coming from this, maybe it would open their eyes. With newfound conviction, he pulled out his phone and started making a checklist. Let's think of activities. What about a barbecue afterward? Everyone loves food. We can rope in some local bands to play music too. Now you're thinking, Sarah said, nodding along. I could help with the food. My mom wouldn't mind cooking up some burgers and hot dogs. Just then, a loud laugh from the teenagers cut through his planning. The girl with the braids had tossed something to the ground, and it landed with a watery splat, a balloon filled with water bursting against the pavement. They erupted into fits of laughter, their carefree joy juxtaposed with the seriousness that clouded his heart. A swell of anger surged within him, the way they so easily dismissed the effort he wanted to conjure. I want to talk to them, Bill said abruptly, making his decision. I want to invite them. They need to know I'm trying to turn things around. Are you sure? Sarah asked, caution woven into her tone. They could laugh in your face. That's a risk I have to take. He took a deep breath, readying himself to face the storm. If I'm going to show them the real me, I need to be straight with them. If it helps, we'll be putting together a cleanup day. I can't hide in here anymore. As he stepped toward the group, he could feel his pulse quicken. What if they turned him away? What if he made digging deeper into the community harder? But he had to try. If he wanted to spark change, he had to be the one to light that fire. Hey! He called out, voice steadying amidst his jittering heart. The teenagers stopped, their laughter fading, eyes now locked on him. Silence hung thick in the air. Can I talk to you for a minute? The tall girl crossed her arms even tighter, throwing him a skeptical look. Why should we listen to you? He swallowed hard, gathering his courage. Because I'm here to change things. And I could use your help. In that moment, his future felt uncertain, teetering on the precipice of hope and fear. But maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something big. What would they say next? Would they dismiss him outright, or could they see the sincerity in his eyes? The air hung heavy as Bill faced the group, feeling a million eyes weighing him down. The girl with the braid stared at him like he'd just dropped from Mars, while the others exchanged bewildered glances. He could almost hear their unspoken thoughts. Was this the man who once hurt their community? What do you want? She finally asked, her voice dripping with skepticism. Listen, I know I haven't made the best decisions in the past, he started, his voice shaky but growing steadier with each word. But I'm trying to change. I'm organizing a cleanup day in the park next Saturday, a way to help bring us together. A few of the teenagers snickered, the sound like daggers piercing through his resolve. And why would we help you? One boy challenged from the back, smirking. Aren't you just trying to make yourself feel better? Bill felt heat rise in his cheeks, a mix of embarrassment and anger swirling inside him. You're right, he admitted, surprising even himself. I do want to feel better. But this isn't just for me. I care about this community, and I want to show that I can contribute positively. The group exchanged glances, and for a moment, silence reigned as their laughter faded. The girl with the braid seemed to soften, even if just a little. What's in it for us? She pressed, arms still crossed. A barbecue. Bill blurted out, catching himself off guard. Free food, music, a chance to hang out and have fun. And I promise, this won't be just another boring community event. We're going to make it lively. He could feel the pulse of excitement in his own voice, and he realized he genuinely wanted to make this work. Some of the teenagers started leaning in, glancing at each other, curiosity flickering in their eyes. Local bands? One asked, raising an eyebrow. Are you serious? Absolutely, Bill replied. And if we can get a good turnout, I'll ask some businesses to sponsor us, too. This could turn into something great for everyone. The girl with the braids considered him carefully. You really think they'll back you up? I believe they will, he said, finding strength in his own words. But I need your help to pull this off. If you come, bring your friends, help spread the word. We could change not just the park, but the whole vibe of this community. Another teenager, a lanky boy with tousled hair, broke the silence. I guess we could tell people, he shrugged. But you better make it fun. Bill nodded, a spark of hope igniting within him. It will be. I promise. After a few uncertain moments, the girl with the braids shifted her weight, still eyeing him. All right. We'll think about it. But if this ends up being lame, don't be surprised if we don't come. I'm counting on you all, Bill said, feeling a rush of gratitude. This is a team effort, and I really appreciate you giving me a shot. As the teenagers began to scatter, he could hear bits of their conversation. He caught a few phrases, interest and excitement intermingled with skepticism, but it was progress. Wow, Sarah said, coming up beside him. That was, actually impressive. You didn't back down. I just had to put it all out there, he said, shaking off the jitters. Maybe they'll see that I'm trying. The sun began to dip behind the trees, casting warm hues across the park, and with it came a flicker of hope in Bill's heart. He could feel the weight of uncertainty begin to lift, replaced by the thrill of possibility. But what if things didn't go as planned? What if the turnout was low, or worse, if they all went home? Bill, Sarah's voice pulled him back from the edge of his thoughts. What's the next step? How do we spread the word? As he pondered their options, a new wave of determination washed over him. If he wanted to rally the community, he would have to be relentless. Emails, flyers, and social media posts would become his allies. But then a thought struck him. What if he reached out to those he'd wronged more directly? The families he'd hurt, the people who lost trust in him. Could he really be brave enough to face them? The weight of the question hung in the air, heavy yet electrifying. Bill knew he had to confront his past to truly move forward. What would they say if he reached out? Would they see a changed man, or would he be met with resentment? All he knew was that a path was opening before him, one he had to walk, no matter how daunting it seemed. Bill spent the entire night unable to sleep, his mind racing through memories of the past. Images of broken trust and angry faces flashed before his eyes, a constant reminder of the pain he had caused. He felt like a ghost wandering through his own life, haunted by the very people he once knew. Could he really face them again? As dawn arrived, he finally mustered the courage. He decided to start with a few close families, the ones who had been most affected by his actions. Armed with a shaky resolve, he grabbed his phone, typed out messages, then deleted them. It felt impossible to find the right words. In the end, he opted for a simple approach, honesty. I'm sorry for what I did. Can we talk? His heart raced as he pressed send. The silence that followed felt unbearable. He paced his living room, glancing out the window, eyes fixed on the park where the cleanup event would take place. An hour later, his phone buzzed. His breath caught in his throat as he saw a response from Sarah's parents. We can meet tomorrow at noon. Relief washed over him, but it was tinged with anxiety. What would they say? He spent the whole day distracted, running through scenarios in his mind. Would they throw things at him? Or would they simply tell him to leave? The uncertainty gnawed at him like a persistent hunger. When noon rolled around, Bill found himself standing in front of their house, hands clammy and heart pounding. He knocked, and moments later, Sarah's mom opened the door, a cautious look on her face. Bill. Thank you for meeting me, he stammered, unsure of how to make this a conversation rather than an interrogation. Come in, she said, stepping aside. He took a deep breath and crossed the threshold. The smell of coffee filled the air, mingling with the scent of fresh cookies. A small kitchen table was set, as if they were welcoming an old friend instead of facing a man who had hurt them deeply. Sarah's dad joined them a moment later, eyeing Bill with a mix of curiosity and wariness. "What's on your mind?" he asked, the words firm yet not unkind. "I know I messed up," Bill began, his voice shaky. "I've lived with regret for so long. I'm trying to change, not just for myself, but for this community," he gestured outside, "for all of you." The two exchanged glances, their expressions unreadable. Bill pressed on, his heart pounding against his ribs. "I'm organizing a cleanup day at the park. I want it to be a place we can all come together, maybe even start fresh. I'm asking for your support." Silence hung for a moment, thick enough to feel. He waited, every second stretching like an eternity. Finally, Sarah's mom spoke. "It's a good idea, but trust takes time, Bill. This isn't something we can just overlook." "I understand," he replied quickly. "But I need to start somewhere. I want to show you all that I can be a part of this community again." Bill noticed that the tension in the room was softening, just a little. Sarah's dad nodded slowly. "If you hold the event, we'll help spread the word. But you need to make sure it's worthwhile, for everyone." Gratitude surged through him, mingling with hope. "Thank you," he said earnestly. "I promise, I won't let you down." As he left their house, the tightness in his chest began to ease. They hadn't forgiven him, not yet, but they were open to the possibility. With each step toward home, he thought about how much this small win meant. He was beginning to feel that change was possible. The event was still days away, but now he felt ready to face it. And yet, what if some of the others, the stronger voices against him, refused to show up? How could he invite them to change their minds? The questions swirled in his head like leaves caught in a whirlwind. Would they turn away from him, or could he invite them into the light? As he gazed at the rising sun, he felt a glimmer of hope flare in his heart. The journey ahead was daunting, but it felt more like a path to redemption. And he had no intention of turning back now. Bill woke up the next morning with his nerves still buzzing like wires in a live circuit. The sun streamed through his window, brightening the corners of his room, but he found no comfort in its warmth. Today was the first day he needed to reach out to others, not just the families directly impacted by his past. Today he would face those rougher edges of his community, the ones who had been more vocal in their discontent. After a shaky breakfast, he pulled out a notepad. Every time he tried to organize his thoughts, the words twisted and turned, refusing to settle into anything coherent. He was wrestling with his own guilt while trying to extend a hand. Should he apologize again or focus more on healing? With a deep breath, he grabbed his jacket and headed to the park. As he approached, the familiar sights blended into a blur of memories. Last summer, the park had been a vibrant hub of laughter and community gatherings. Now, litter dotted the ground like scars on a beautiful face. Bill paused at the entrance, taking in the scene. A few early risers were jogging past him, earbuds in and focused on their own goals. He felt invisible, just a shadow against the bright morning light. But he had promised himself he would change. He had to stand out. Fueled by determination, he began to pick up trash. Plastic wrappers crinkled in his hands, bottles' caps rolled away like his forgotten options. Each piece of litter he removed felt like peeling back layers of his own mistakes. He wasn't just cleaning up the park, he was cleaning up his life. Just then, he spotted Mike, one of the most outspoken critics from the neighborhood. Mike was part of the group that had vehemently opposed Bill's past endeavors. The sight of him sent a shiver down Bill's spine. But this was a moment of truth. "Hey, Mike," he called, voice shaky yet firm. Mike looked over, surprise flickering across his face. "What are you doing here?" "I'm trying to make things right, starting with this cleanup day," Bill replied, gesturing around. "I want to change, you know. For myself, for everyone." Mike crossed his arms, skepticism bleeding into his expression. "And why should I believe you? You've let everyone down before." Bill swallowed, guilt choking his words. "I know. I can't change the past, but I'd like the chance to be a part of this community again. Will you join me? Everyone working together might make it easier." The silence that followed felt heavier than any weight. Bill's heart thudded in his chest as he awaited a response, hoping desperately for a crack in Mike's hardened exterior. Finally, Mike shrugged. "It's gonna take more than a cleanup to fix things between you and us. But sure, I'll help. I can't promise anything else." Just like that, an opening had emerged. Gratitude welled inside Bill, and he felt lighter. This was a small step, a fragile bridge built from one person's willingness to stand up. They worked side by side, a tension-laden silence gradually morphing into small talk. Bill learned about the local sports teams and upcoming events. Recently, Mike had even started a community garden initiative, something Bill hadn't known. Each piece of discarded trash they collected felt like a story returned to its rightful place. Bill didn't realize that the people he least expected might become his unexpected allies. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, a few more familiar faces appeared, spotting them in the park. Uncertainty and curiosity mingled on their faces. What were Bill and Mike doing together? Could they hold a common ground after all? Bill's heart raced again, this time from a hopeful anticipation. Their journey together had just begun. But what if the community wasn't ready to forgive? And would Mike still stand by him when the others confronted them? The park, filled with tangled emotions, seemed to echo his questions. Would the cleanup lead to true change, or was it just another attempt to hide the damage? The afternoon sun painted the park in warm hues, as billowing clouds drifted lazily across the sky. More people had begun to gather, drawn by the sight of Bill and Mike working together. Bill's heart lifted with every new face that approached, hopeful that this might be a sign of change. One familiar figure, Sarah, cautiously stepped over to them, her eyebrows arched in disbelief. She had been one of the most vocal opponents to Bill's past actions. "What is going on here?" she asked, crossing her arms as she fixed her gaze on Mike. "Just cleaning up a bit," Mike replied, a hint of defiance in his voice. "Thought I'd lend a hand. Bill's trying to do something good." Sarah's eyes widened, disbelief mingled with curiosity. "And you trust him?" she shot back, clearly skeptical. "Trust is earned," Mike replied, shrugging. "But he's trying, and that's enough for me to start with. I figured cleaning wouldn't hurt." Bill felt the weight of their scrutiny. He gathered his courage. "I know I've made mistakes. I've hurt people. All I want is to be a part of this community again. I'm not asking for forgiveness right away. I just want to show I can change." The silence hung thick in the air once more. Bill held his breath, apprehensive to see how the tide would turn. Finally, Sarah regarded Bill for a long moment before her expression softened slightly. "Actions speak louder than words, Bill. You've got a long way to go before anyone will forgive you for what happened." "I understand," he said earnestly. "That's why I'm here. It's a start. I want to work with all of you to rebuild." There was a shift. The tension lessened, and a few of the newcomers began to join in, picking up pieces of trash with hesitance at first, but more confidently as they fell into the rhythm. As they worked, Bill felt something shift within him. This was a collective effort, a shared goal that began to knit them together in a way he hadn't expected. Even as their hands touched garbage, it felt like they were clearing away old grievances layered over time. Over the next hour, laughter broke through the uneasy atmosphere, filling the air with the sound of renewed hope. Bill shared small stories about the park's history, while people reciprocated with tales of their own. As the sun began its descent, paints of orange twisted into the azure, their laughter glimmered like sunlight on water. Yet, as mere pockets of conversation formed among the group, Bill couldn't help but feel a nagging worry gnaw at him. Would that light extinguish? What waited around the corner, back in the shadows of their skepticism? Just as he was beginning to feel accepted, the sound of shouts suddenly broke through. "Hey, what are you doing?" a voice boomed from behind the trees. Bill turned to see a small group of angry faces, arms crossed, a multitude of frowns that bore the weight of old grudges. They marched forward, their intentions clear. The collective spirit began to fray as tension sparked in the air, the fresh hope threatened by a dark cloud. What would happen when these new voices clashed with the fragile efforts that had already begun? Would their progress stand the test of anger and resentment? With a chill trickling down his spine, Bill faced the approaching storm. The moment of truth loomed, and he wondered if the community could see beyond his past mistakes. Would they find the heart to forgive? Bill's heart raced as the angry crowd approached, their eyes filled with resentment. He knew who they were. The individuals he'd let down, the ones who'd seen him as a symbol of what had gone wrong in their town. "Look at him!" one of the men shouted, jabbing a finger in Bill's direction. "Cleaning up the park like it's some kind of PR stunt. You think that fixes anything?" The weight of their sharp words pierced through the warmth of the sun that hung overhead. Bill took a deep breath, the air thick with uncertainty. He had felt the stirrings of hope just moments ago, but this was a different reality altogether. These faces were familiar, stories intertwined with his own. Each one carried a history that was painful to acknowledge, yet necessary to confront. "Listen," Bill started, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. "I get it. You have every right to be angry. You've lost trust in me, and for good reason. I built walls where there should have been bridges." The crowd fell silent, the bubbling anger simmering just below the surface. "But I'm here now," he continued. "I want to help. Not just clean up the park, but rebuild relationships. It's not going to happen overnight, but I'm willing to work for it." A young woman stepped forward, her expression a mix of skepticism and hurt. "Why now, Bill? You walked away from us when we needed you. What makes you think a few bags of trash can change our past?" Her words struck deep, twisting in his gut. "You're right," he replied. "I was selfish and blind to the needs of this community. I can't erase that history, but I can start to change my impact. I want to do the work, not just talk about it." Behind him, Sarah spoke up. "I've seen Bill taking steps to reach out, trying to think of ways to bring us together. It's more than just patching things up, he is trying to connect again." The crowd shifted slightly, a few faces looking to one another, igniting whispers of consideration. Bill took a step forward, ready to face the storm. "You may doubt my sincerity, and I'm not asking for instant forgiveness." He swallowed hard, nerves trembling in his chest. "But I promise you this, I'm going to invest my time, not just resources, into this community. I can't change what happened, but I can commit to a better future." The edge of resentment still lingered in the air, but in that moment, something flickered. A reluctant acknowledgement that perhaps, just perhaps, this was the beginning of a dialogue worth having. An elderly man at the back of the crowd nodded slowly. "Talk is cheap, Bill. We've heard it all before. We need to see you put in the work." "I will," Bill said, determination flowing through his veins. "I'm organizing a cleanup day. I want you all to join in. Let us create something we can be proud of together, something that reflects who we are as a community." The woman who had questioned him crossed her arms, a wary gaze fixed on him. "If this is just a show, we'll know, and you'll regret it. I understand completely. Trust isn't a gift, it's earned." "And I intend to earn it," Bill said, sincerity in every word. Slowly, a few heads began to nod, a shift in their collective stance as they considered the possibility of change. It wasn't much, but it felt monumental in that charged atmosphere. "If you really mean it, then we'll help," the man who had first spoken said, shrugging in a way that signaled cautious acceptance. "But it won't be easy." Bill's heart swelled. "I wouldn't expect anything less. Let us take it one step at a time." The crowd began to thin, the tension easing slightly with each moment. As Bill turned to look at Sarah, relief washed over him, mingling with hope. This wasn't an instant fix. It was a beginning, the first crack in the walls he had built around himself. With determination simmering beneath the surface, He knew the path ahead would demand more than just cleanup efforts. It would require him to continue listening, reflecting, and connecting deeply with the community he had once lost. Hand in hand with Sarah, he stepped forward toward the park. "Let us do this," he said, heart pounding with purpose. Together. As they looked out at the task ahead, the sun set behind them, casting long, embracing shadows across the park. The journey was just beginning, but this time, he wasn't walking alone. There was strength in vulnerability, power in community, and together they would weather the storms that lay ahead. Before they could move into the next phase, there was a tangible energy in the air, a bond forming not just between Bill and the community, but within the community itself. They were starting to remember what it meant to rise together, and as hope sparked anew, a chorus of laughter echoed among the trees, a promise of what was to come. Now is your chance to be part of this incredible journey. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next amazing stories filled with inspiration. Leave a like now to feed our algorithm and keep these transformations alive. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this powerful ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let us do this together.